Yeah, there's a huge double standard here, and we need to address it. There are a few more things I need to talk about. Two specific topics I want to address when it comes to this whole argument that people are making. People like this lady. You can see here the topic of her video is called Heathcliff Isn't White. She goes by Princess Weeks down here in the left-hand corner. And she and many people like herself, so I'm picking on a new lady this time than I did in the previous two videos I made about this topic. They're all up in arms, they're ranting and raving, they're very upset because the newest movie adaptation of Wuthering Heights, the book she's holding in her hand there, they cast Heathcliff as a white guy. So this is Jacob Elordi, this is Margot Robbie, and you can see here he looks pretty white. And they're upset because Heathcliff in the book is described as being a dark-skinned gypsy. So they're saying that he should have been either black or mixed race or some kind of man of color, and he shouldn't have been white. And I already addressed in previous videos how if he was described as gypsy, he was likely Romani. Romani is, they're classified as Caucasian. They're Indo-Aryan and classified as Caucasian, and there are many different shades of white. So, but let's get down to the double standard. Here's the double standard that this lady really needs to address if she's going to start bitching and moaning about Heathcliff being cast as a white guy. Ready? Here it is. Here she is. Hi, here's our lovely little double standard. Let's see if I can click on any of these, if they'll come up. I guess not. So, they cast the live-action version of The Little Mermaid as a black girl. This is a double standard. Why? Why is it a double standard? Well, because they're saying, their argument is that if you're going to cast a person in a role, a movie adaptation of the literature, then they should fit the description in the literature. Well, I don't know if you guys realize this, but Disney did not write The Little Mermaid. You know who did write The Little Mermaid? A guy named Hans Christian Andersen. This dude was from Denmark, okay? He was Whitey McCracker. He was super white. And here's what he wrote about The Little Mermaid. He wrote that she had skin as clear and delicate as a rose leaf, and her eyes as blue as the deepest sea. Clear, delicate skin like a rose leaf. Rose leaf was probably rose petal. And blue eyes. He's describing a white girl. Well, half white girl, half fish, but a white girl. That's what he's describing. And again, he was super white. He's from Denmark. He's describing a white girl. Okay? Explain to me then if we should only be casting people in roles, movie roles, that fit the literary description. Explain to me then why this chick is black. Can someone explain that to me? Do you see? Let's zoom in here. I don't know why it's not letting me click on these images, but do you see? Do her eyes look blue to you? They look black to me. They look dark brown. Does her skin look light like a rose? Here's what comes up when you search rose petal skin. Light, blush, pink colors, and ivory colors. Typically, when I see any kind of makeup foundation for the skin that has the word rose in the title, it's usually tailored towards fair-skinned people, fair-complexioned people. So this is what he meant. See these pink, light pink rose petals? White. That's not what her skin looks like. Looks brown to me. I have never seen a brown rose petal before unless it was wilting. So this is a huge double standard, guys, because I don't hear any of them, any women like this one, bitching and moaning and complaining about how the live-action Little Mermaid was not cast according to the literary description. Can you explain that to me? Gee, do you think maybe that they're just full of shit? that it's a double standard and they're full of shit. So, lady, you know what? You need to address the double standard. You need to address how the live-action Little Mermaid should have been white, based on the literary description. You need to make a video about that, or you need to shut the fuck up. That's what needs to happen. Really. Because now you're just full of shit. If you're ranting and raving and bitching and moaning about the one, but then you're not talking about the other, now we're creating a double standard. By the way, what's the opposite of whitewashing? Because that's what they're claiming is whitewashing in Hollywood, whitewashing of roles. What's the opposite of, would it be like I don't know, blackfacing? Is that what you would call this? By the way, also, it doesn't make sense scientifically for her to be black. It doesn't make sense scientifically. Why? Well, because let's see, why do people have dark skin? And I'm looking for the scientific answer, not some stupid biblical answer. Why do they have dark skin? Here, I pulled up the answer for you, for those of you who don't know this, but I think it should be apparent by now to most people. Dark skin is an evolutionary adaptation caused by higher concentrations of melanin, a pigment produced to protect skin cells from damage caused by intense UV radiation. So it's developed to protect skin from sunlight. It's usually found in people who live in Africa or who are not that far removed from Africa in terms of their genealogy. Because Africa is fucking full of sun, isn't it? So, explain to me, where the fuck is the sun 20,000 fucking leagues under the ocean? We're talking about a chick who's, again, I know she's a fantasy creature, she's a mermaid, but she's half human. Like, her top half is a human. So it stands to reason that it would kind of follow the same biology as a human being. So why does she have melanin in her skin if she's never exposed to the sunlight? She grew up in a castle at the bottom of the ocean where there's no frickin' sunlight. She was forbidden to go to the surface by her father. Now, she did disobey his orders and she went to the surface once in a while, but she couldn't be up there for very long if you think about it. Because if she'd stayed up for like an hour or more, she would have gotten a sunburn or a tan. And she would have gone home and her father would have been like, bitch, I see tan lines. You went up to the surface again, you're grounded. She would have gotten in a whole heap of trouble. So she likely, even though she supposedly went up to the surface sometimes, she probably didn't stay up there for very long. She likely grew up in a castle at the bottom of the ocean. She probably, until her early teens, was not even really barely allowed out of the castle. And then she rarely, like on very rare occasions for maybe minutes at a time, would go to the surface just to rebel against daddy. Why does she have black skin? That makes zero sense. There's no sunlight down there. Shit, like, she shouldn't even really have been Caucasian. She should have been freaking translucent. Talk about clear skin. But it makes more sense for her, just scientifically, to be Caucasian. So just, like, all the way around, casting a black girl as the Little Mermaid doesn't make sense if you're going to hold it up to any kind of scientific scrutiny, or if you're going to hold it up to the literary description. So again, double standard. Please address this, ma'am. Please address this double standard, ma'am. Please make a video shitting all over the live-action version of The Little Mermaid because it doesn't live up to the literary description. Please do so. So that we all know you're not full of shit. Just saying. Before you all start crying, Mami Wata, Mami Wata, Mami Wata. Yes, Mami Wata was an ancient ancient deity of the water, but she's actually known as a river goddess. She's from Africa, but she was a river goddess. She dwelled mostly in rivers and lakes. Those, in comparison to the ocean, those are much more shallow bodies of water. So she likely had more exposure to the sun if she were a real thing. she would have had more exposure to the sun. And also, she quite often wasn't depicted as a mermaid. Sometimes she was, but a lot of times she was depicted as being serpentine, with lots of snakes, snake charmer, or a snake half of her body rather than a fish half. So yeah, it would make more sense considering she was from Africa, A, and B, she was living in shallow bodies of water. She was a river goddess. Yeah, I could understand how she might be dark-skinned. But again, a chick living way down at the bottom of the frickin' ocean whose daddy tells her, no, don't you dare, like, I'll spank you if you go to the surface. And who probably even employed that rule for all the mer people, and they were probably also scared to go to the surface. Seems like they were scared of human beings. So, just as a species, if such a species existed, they probably wouldn't have a lot of pigment in their skin, because they probably wouldn't have a lot of exposure to sunlight. If they follow the same biology as a human being, and again, their top halves are supposed to be human. So, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. So that's the first part of this, and I'm going to attempt the second part. I'm wondering if I should put it in a separate video, because this thing's been clicking off on me sometimes, and it's frustrating me. But yeah, you know what? I'm just going to end this video here, and I'll start a whole other video with the second topic, that the issue that needs to be addressed on this topic. Everybody getting so upset that Jacob Elordi was cast as Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights. There's a huge double standard here. Women like this need to address the double standard, or they need to shut up. Anybody talking about this, and it's not just her. There are white people talking about it, black people, everybody. Lots of people are out there like, he shouldn't have been white. Then tell me why the live action Little Mermaid was black. Who gives a shit? These movies should be judged based on the acting, the quality of the acting, the quality of the costume, the quality of the set design, the editing. That's what they should be. Like, you guys are just contributing to the race wars, is what I think is going on here. You're putting on blinders and completely ignoring that they're casting black people in the roles that are described as being white, that make more sense for them to be white, and just ranting on and on about whitewashing in Hollywood. And I feel like it's like there are more important things to, hey, are you hearing about all the shit going on in the Epstein files? Don't you think child rape is more important? Don't you think that breeding babies to experiment on and eat and all the nasty stuff they're talking about that Epstein was up to, don't you think that catching those people who were working with Epstein to do all this, who were in cahoots with Epstein, don't you think that's a more important topic of discussion than this bullshit? Because those people, I guarantee you, what they want ultimately is to keep the herd at war with each other about shit like religion and race, so that we're not paying attention to them raping children. Yeah, honey, that's right. You're part of the problem. You're a big part of the problem. You have probably a lot of followers. You got 130,000 views on this video. Imagine if you brought that kind of attention to child rape and child traffickers. Now, I haven't perused your YouTube channel. Maybe you have addressed the issue, but I don't know. I'll issue an apology in the next video if that's the case. I'll have a look at your channel, but I feel like you don't look like the type who addresses Epstein files. I know it's been a long time since I've put on any makeup like that, because, like, who can wear makeup when they're thinking about how the people running the top levels of society are raping children, trafficking in children, breeding children for rape? Like, I just haven't even had the will to make myself look pretty, because I feel like my time could be better spent trying to shut down the child traffickers, bringing attention to it. The only way we're going to get them stopped is if more people like yourself, give more of their time and attention to the issue. and draw other people's attention to the issue. Stop being part of the problem. Start being part of the solution. All right? Literally, you're their best friend. The child rapists, you're their best friend. They love you. They love people like you who harp on and on about race war and whitewashing and stuff and aren't talking about a much more important issue, which is child trafficking and child rape. And a lot of the kids that are child trafficked and raped, like, they're black. So if you really want to help out the black community, start by ending what is modern day slavery, children being trafficked and used for rape, and a lot of them are black. Start there. That would be better use of your time than this nonsense, all this. What are you doing, honey? What are you doing? Come on. Have some more substance. And you're reading Wuthering Heights. I've never read Wuthering Heights. I don't need to. I've had enough toxic relationships in real life. I don't need to read about one. I don't need to waste my time reading some fantasy book when, again, there's the frickin' Epstein files going on. That's real life horror. Like, that should be occupying your time, not reading Wuthering Heights so that you can prove to everybody that you know what you're talking about the fucking fantasy made up story. Fucking A, man. Read the Epstein files and start talking about the crazy shit in there. How about that? Go with that. All right, so again, yeah, Princess Weeks. Heathcliff isn't white. Go ahead and watch her video if you want. I don't have it up on YouTube just because when I go into YouTube, it seems to trigger my video recorder to turn off. So it took me a few takes to figure that one out. But yeah, go and watch and see how she talks about just nonsense that doesn't matter. But we're going to bring her up. She's going to be the main part of the next video, I think, actually. So yeah, double standard, big old double standard. Big old double. Let me see if I can just, again. There she is. No, I don't want to. I don't. Go back. This is just obnoxious. There we go. Because I want this to be, I'm going to leave it up for a few minutes. I think that this is going to be the cover of this video. Double standard, double standard, double standard, double standard. Are you freaking kidding me? All right. Bye-bye.